Hey everyone, welcome to Youth Bombs. I'm Craig,
I am Coleman.
And I'm Olivia.
and we're the voice of young conservatives in Alachua County. Just this past week, Ben Sasse, former president of UF, is being investigated for his spending on his office of the presidency of the college. So essentially, in the past year, he spent $17 million versus his predecessor's $5.6 million, promoting various former Senate staffers, because he used to serve in the U.S. Senate, to various positions within his college cabinet, as well as making new positions such as the vice president of presidential communications. So giving them large salaries in the hundreds of thousands of dollars and really spending a lot of time and money on travel for himself and his circle. As students, how do you both feel about this?
Well, I mean, in an ideal world, I would love for all that money to get paid back because that was all of our tuition money and donation money going to that. When you think about that, it becomes very personal because people work and families work really hard to send their kids to University of Florida, and we have a lot of generous donors that help the university, run and look at the facilities we have. I mean, it's a great school to go to. Overall, we're very blessed. But when you think about this money going to all these different people for kind of like quasi like made up positions at like such an exorbitant amount. I mean, as you said, like the article in the Alligator goes into all about like how much money he was spending on this and that, and it tripled the spending amount in only that 17 months. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it makes me angry when I think about how when they're gonna have to when the university is gonna have to like regain all the funds like that were spent out or paid out, they're going to just find that in, raising the tuition costs a little bit if they can, or mainly just like raising the cost of textbooks, maybe raising the cost of the student season passes for the football games.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And knowing that it came from this one man's greediness, I mean, that's obviously, no one likes that ever.
So I guess innocent until proven guilty, I guess one thing, but then a lot of it seems shady on the surface, and I guess one comment I will make is I remember like seeing all the protests at the very beginning of Ben Sasse's inauguration of, like there were stickers all over campus, like flaming Ben Sasse, mostly because he was conservative, and there's like weird stuff like Ben Sasse drinks piss, like weird. But then there was parts where like protests of people like outside administrative buildings. There's one part where this video went viral of like protesters going inside the building and then like banging on the doors, and then that whole debacle caused like the university to like ban protests indoors, like outright because of that incident.
Yeah, they were aggressively tapping on the window, apparently.
Yeah. So, that was a whole mess. Dang, and it's a shame because I thought, at least there's a lot of hype, within the conservative realm, at least. It's like, oh, he's at least not a radical liberal or progressive, and he would be more open to having, like, speakers such as Ben Shapiro come on campus, which was a successful event hosted by YAF. But then...
Follow us at UFYAF.
Yeah, right. Follow us at UFF. But then it's weird. Then you get like, oh, was it? And he gave like, I graduated recently, and it's like, oh, he gave a great speech at graduation,
which people like, by the way.
Yeah,
people are receptive to it.
And then exactly, but then it's a shame once you start to like, get into like the sliminess of it all, with what he actually did while he was in his, his position, not just like the front facing stuff, and it's a shame. So that's what I have to say on the matter.
Right. And now, as part of that 17 million of spending in 17 months, we're looking at Jimmy Petronas investigating his office, who, by the way, Mr. Petronas will be a speaker at our annual Black Tie Blue Jeans event, which you can buy tickets for at alatrorepublicans.com.
Yes, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how this investigation, like what they find about it. And what I was wondering, like to the extreme, maybe not so extreme, is could he face like jail time for like embezzlement? Like, is there any cause for embezzlement? And, like I'm not a lawyer by any account, but obviously this is like the moving around of funds where they shouldn't be. So I wonder if there's any legal technicalities. However, usually with high profile things like this, the university, I would assume they wouldn't want to file charges to go through with that because of the negative, feedback it's going to get, in the publicity. And
I guess it's weird because you don't want to like hurt the public image of the university itself, right?
Right. Yeah, and we've already been so well regarded by being like number one, new public Ivy by Wall Street, like all of that, which is like major marketing thing, and it does work because now a lot of like kids want to, as if you didn't already know UF, you want to come to UF because of that. So I wonder if they'll just like fine him, a large amount of money, or just never write him a good reference, like something like that. But I also think though that he is a politician at the end of the day. People like in high profile positions, they do this. I mean, they kind of like, hey, like the quid pro quo kind of thing. I mean, that happens all the time. It's just that he got caught, and now it's personal because it was with our money.
Right.
Yeah. Craig, what were you gonna say?
Just that it seems to be all too often that this happens with such politicians, and he's probably going to go and say, I did nothing wrong, and all of this was justified, and maybe the crazy trips he did, for instance, he's going to say, well, I had to go there, and I had to take first class if that was the case, and I had to go to Africa, and I had to eat this fancy meal, and, spend all this money. Hypothetically, of course, not necessarily whether or not he did, but the thing is that he's going to say everything he did was justified, or he's going to say that none of it is true. But, I mean, there's financial records and whatnot, so he can't pretend like the spending didn't happen. He can't say, oh, well, no, the funds are all there. If it's spent, and the money's gone.
So, just for the audience, could one of you explain what quid pro quo is?
Yeah, so it's basically like you do something for me and I do something for you. So I think we kind of saw it when, on national terms, when like, was it Biden? It was Hunter Biden or Biden himself, made a deal with one of the Ukrainian officials.
So there's like one...
it happens all the time, basically. So, it's like a political business deal. So
I think it's what I think you might be referencing. This isn't quid pro quo, but like this one thing you sort of hinted at was like the Biden threatening the prosecutor of Ukraine.
But basically, like in the terms of Ben Sasse situation, which mirrors that Biden Ukraine situation that we were trying to reference, he probably just the people that he hired like remotely, probably just people that he said, hey, like you helped me pass this bill or wrote this for me, as a very like basic example. So what I'm going to do in return is when I go to University of Florida, I will create this position for you and pay you this amount of money back because it costs that amount of money to do something for my political gain. So I mean, I think it happens all the time. It's really, I don't know if it's necessarily illegal too.
So I think what you're describing is a lot of the role that Hunter Biden did with like, foreign nations like Ukraine, China, etc. And then what I was referencing is Biden. I think this is what I remember. I might be wrong, but it was like Biden threatening one of the prosecutors of Ukraine. It's like, hey, do not go after this certain dude or whatever, or you're not going to get this certain aid money. That was the other thing, and that was like recorded live in an interview. That's the other thing I was thinking of.
Right.
Okay.
So basically, like it happens all the time from a grander scale to this. I mean, it probably happens in business offices, of private sectors too. It's just that he got caught with it, and it looks really bad for the university. At some point, you kind of have to give the university grace as to Like they probably didn't, hire him with the intention that he would spend that much money in that short of time. But also it makes me question, like, that's a massive amount of money just being like spent like rapidly. Like someone in finance or in administration and human resources should have like, you think that they would realize.
Right.
But that just goes to show that you think that famous systems such as the University of Florida are being run really well, but behind the scenes you never know, there's probably potholes just like any other system.
Yeah, it's like, how could this even happen in the
Right,
first place,
right.
given that there's all this attention on the university and there are people, accountants and auditors looking at the university, working for the university. It's a state-run school that gets a large portion of its budget from the state. So where did this money come from that he was just able to pull? Like, if he's only allocated a certain amount,
Right.
where does the rest of it come from?
And that's where I think there could be like a possible illegal component to it. You know what I mean? Like with in terms of embezzlement. Well, it'll be interesting to see what Mr. Petronas finds. We definitely trust him here at Alachua County Republicans as a good and faithful civil servant.
Thanks everyone so much for watching. We really appreciate it. We upload every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1 p.m. And feel free to reach out to us with questions or comments at youthbombs@alachuarepublicans.com. Thanks so much, everyone. Bye.
Bye.